you, so we're done. Good week.
Hey, everyone. It's a little after 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the agent meeting, and then we'll get this up on YouTube later today so that you can see it. Greg's out there too, I think. Yeah. So our core value today, and everybody in the room will please understand, I'm going to talk to the camera. That way you can watch me there if you want to, but that way it looks because when I'm talking on YouTube, it looks weird if I'm talking over here.
Yeah.
So we are faithful to the idea of restoration. It is the heart behind all we do. So here's my take. Everything we do, or this is their take, everything we do should have the end goal of seeing restoration. This includes houses and communities restored to what they once were, relationships restored and flourishing, neighborhoods improved, employee-employer relationships healthy and encouraging, and even seeing the way a business can operate restored with purpose and mission beyond just profit. Every aspect of our business and how we operate should be restorative in nature. So here's my take now. So restoration is a journey. It's short or long, it's about small steps. And the journey matters. It's not just about the goal. How you get there is important. People often say the end justifies the means, and sometimes that's true. But to be successful, restorative, and effective with your methods, you would probably want training to see what that looks like, because not every success looks different to everyone. I'm a firm believer in honing your craft to be successful, and you can't be truly successful until you know what success looks like. The Buffini & Company training programs are one of the many ways you can either begin or continue your effective journey to success. The more you lean into the training, the more success you'll experience. And it's also about being intentional with the steps that you're going to take and repetitive. It is repetitive, but those little bitty things, the basics, are what make us really successful and provide restoration to everything that we touch as we go. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And Maria Ventura, thank you. I got lots of applause. Thank you. I'm Maria Ventura. How are you?
On mute.
Okay, that's fine. Good to see you. Hope to see you in the office soon. So we haven't met in person yet, so I hope to see you soon. Okay, so I'm going to actually show something on a market update. While I'm getting that prepared, do you want to hit your stuff real quick?
Yeah. So I am Tanner. I've been traveling quite a bit. But one cool thing that we're getting ready to roll out in the next few weeks is a service that kind of continues to integrate construction design with the brokerages. We've had some demand for this. It's taken some processing and figuring out how to make good use of design time to help serve you guys. But we're going to roll out a staging service so that your clients can, you or your clients can pay to have one of our designers come give feedback on how to prepare the house for listing. And that might be the primary goal is going to be using the existing furniture, looking for some opportunities to maybe pull some new designs, some pops of color, whatever, plants, yada yada yada, all of that stuff into the fold so your clients can be better prepared for a listing. And that takes a little bit of that load off of your shoulders. With the price range that we're aiming at right now, which I had a long conversation with them about yesterday, it's going to be somewhere in that like 250 to 400 range, and somewhere between an hour and 2 hours worth of their time. So a pretty good chunk of time. It's not like I don't expect everyone to like be using this on all of their listings, but if you've got a client that's like, I, for the love of God, cannot help these people with all of their junk or all of their stuff, or they're just not going to listen to me, I need to bring in an extra expert or additional line of support, that's there. And so that's something we're going to be rolling out and giving some more clarity. They could even, as a part of that, give some ideas and some contractors for work to be done. They take a little bit of that load off of your shoulders. So furthering that one-stop shop, furthering the dynamic of, hey, we work in teams, and into the restoration, pursuing, going big picture here, philosophy is like, we're restoring the real estate process, what the listing process looks like. They can go deal with the Keller Williams agents who's, just going to kind of slop something up on the MLS. What we're going to try to do is make something affordable and approachable to help them get that property sold on time and meet their goals. So,
And the ultimate goal of this was to slim down slightly
Yeah.
the design of the day.
Yeah.
Design of the day is still there, and you can still use that service. This is a slimmed down, trimmed down, very lean version of that.
Yeah.
Now it's like, right?
I think it's 450, 500 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think in full price might be 500, and then it
Okay.
goes up to 400 internally, like
Okay.
if you refer to it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and that's pretty. It's a heavy lift. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot. So I think it's a good option too.
But that allows us to use the design team much more effectively, and it coagulates the two businesses together. And it's something that I run into through the years is needing a stager. Well, who do I call? Well, now I know.
Well, most of the stagers are real estate agents.
Right.
So this is good.
Yeah.
And I think what a phenomenal thing to do post-closing, because just for example, like the house I sold last week, you know, she's like, I want to do, I mean, wouldn't have been my color of choice, but yellows and grays and all that. And I mean, like they're going to go buy new furniture and all that. But if you could have somebody come in and be like, hey, let me help you pick your couch and do all like, and put, you know,
Yeah.
these couple of common rooms together,
Mhm.
it can really, you know, be inspirational.
It is. Yeah, it's a great gift. And even if you're like, hey, client, this is only going to cost you $200, and you cover the other $200,
Right.
whatever. A lot of good options there. And I think we're trying to meld those things a little bit better. We're also going to be adding all of the sell sheets and all of the design and day packages to the backside. So that like you'll have a little bit easier access to that. So right now they're not up there.
Okay. Do we want to hit anything on the captain stuff?
Oh yeah, we're still playing with the names, but right now we have it written as subject matter experts, where like portions of our team, like leadership, has said, hey, you know, I welcome calls. I welcome helping you solve your problems in this area to kind of take the burden off of local leaders and myself to get you quicker responses, better support. So we'll be rolling that out too. I've got the page on the backside. We're just kind of working on some last minute tweaks, but that'll go live tomorrow. And we'll send that out in the guide channel in Slack. The couple things to note, like read the paragraph that's on top that talks about why we're doing this and how to use it. Things that you need to know. This doesn't take away, like if you nobody from Bell County except for Shree's on, but Bell County, you still go to your leadership. Fort Worth, you still go to your leadership. Parker County, still go to your leadership. But if you've got a specific VA loan question, and you're like, who's going to be the best person to give a call or shoot direct message to? Shree's done a ton of them. Like, don't fool around with coming to myself or Brian, who's just going to tell you to eventually go to Sheree or try to make shift something. Like, go to it. Somebody who said, hey, I'm an expert here. I welcome calls and conversations around this. So that, again, do not think that we're pulling any kind of support. This is adding additional lines of support for everybody and trying to bring some clarity in. That makes sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. Okay, so I have one announcement, and you have to pardon me, I'm bending down making mouse stuff work here, so apologize. Parker County Builder Competition. Sean Russell with First United Bank had previewed this to us. I got an email yesterday that I've been instructed to read from Sean about this competition. I think Greg was interested in it. There may be some other people that are interested in this. Here's what is said. The developer, Chad Bradshaw, Chandler, and I, meaning Sean, finally have dates to launch this competition we discussed for Calhoun Acres. Let me know who at 6 would like to participate. So you'll need to reach out to me and let me know that you want to participate. He'll plan for a coffee or lunch and learn, sit down, run through the builder angle so you can really capitalize on the opportunity. Through this competition, he hopes to prep you to intro the builder to your customer, pre-qualified with proper expectations all around, and you keep control of the deal, and therefore you earn more in the transaction. So let me jump down here and present. Oh, I just raised my hand. Hang on. That's the wrong one. I need to do a tab, and we want to do this one. I'm going to share this real quick. This is what it looks like, and I'm probably going to have to blow it up a little bit. So there's the real estate lot giveaway. So I'm going to put a link to this on the Slack channel here in a little while. It's by invitation only. And so just kind of the information, when you go back and look at this on the video, you'll be able to read it a little bit better. but that kind of gives you the basics of it.
That's cool.
So let me back up here and present another screen. We're going to talk a little bit about the last market update. Stop presenting that and present a tab. And we're going to do this one. I don't know if you guys saw this from Greater Fort Worth, but let me hit some highlights of what your things we should be looking at. I'll put a link to this also in the Slack channel so that you can have the link to this housing report. I think this is the only thing that these couple of things I wanted to hit on briefly. So median price is down 6.7% year over year. I think that is an important number for our sellers to be aware of, that house prices are down. So the conversation might go, hey, you know what? House prices are down 6.7 and listings are up 15% year over year. Now, will your house appraise for the number that you and I talked about? Probably. However, with interest rates being what they are, closed sales down 6%, inventory is up. What is the exact thing that we need to be doing? Do we need to be offering a incentive? We'll pay points to a buyer instead of taking a $25,000 reduction in price.
Yeah, that's great.
So this will be up there in a few minutes for you guys. Well, later this afternoon. Overall, Tarrant County is down 4.1% with listings up 11%. Oh, we haven't plug in.
Sorry.
It happens. That's okay. So all these reports here, Johnson and Parker, look at Parker County. Median prices in Parker County only down 1.1%, but listings are up 60.5% year over year.
Yeah.
So great numbers for you guys to be talking about. Let me stop presenting this real quick.
While
Yeah.
Brian's gonna know, does anyone need like a little like class or a quick note on the thought process between why you wouldn't take a $25,000 job as compared to getting a $3,000 to $5,000 credit for to pay for points?
Anybody online, you can just give us a hand clap, or if you'd like to see that class, we can do that maybe next Wednesday.
Hell, I can talk about it for 30 seconds right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, Maria, give us.
Maria, you
Crystal?
got it, or you want?
She wants to hear it. They want to hear it. Hi, Susan.
Yes,
Uh,
I'd like to hear it.
Brian, do you?
Please.
Okay, so the thought process there is that house becomes just as affordable or even more affordable considering the reduced rate at the higher price point for your buyers. And now they have the opportunity to make the margin difference, to capitalize on the difference in the 25 versus, call it $8,000 to get 2 points on interest rates. So to use round numbers, we'll say $500,000 house. You could, fire sell this thing and drop it 25K to keep using these numbers, 475. And that is one option. And that house is still probably going to be more expensive than if that person who was looking at a $500,000 house at a 7% interest rate, you gave them $10,000 to buy that down to a 5.75 or a 6, and then your buyers now net $15,000. Talking those numbers, that's fast and loose numbers there, but what you just did is made the property more affordable, more approachable, considering this interest rate environment that we're in. And we're getting ready to see more of this. I think people are going to start getting more and more creative over the next 120 days to get interest rates a little bit lower. And hopefully sellers and us as agents are getting more proficient in having the conversation about what the difference in a concession versus a price drop does to make your house more affordable and therefore more sellable to the buyers. Because we're all representing buyers right now that are looking at, well, shit, 9 months ago I could have my monthly payment would have been $2,500. Now it's going to be $3,000 for that house. I can't afford this any longer. You can help them navigate those changes, because most lenders aren't going to have that conversation.
Maria has a question, please.
So are you saying that if we price it at the 500K and in the details, do we announce that sellers are open to helping with buy down?
I would. There's Holly's got a kind of a situation right now where it's not working. So it's not a silver bullet by any means, but it's a good option, particularly if you're priced right at the beginning. So if the house is worth $500,000 and you're pricing it at $497 or $496, and then saying in your description and even in your private remarks, seller is willing to give concessions, you're probably going to generate multiple offers there. Like, or if you can even price it a little bit lower, like that's one strategy. But I personally, I would announce it. And that's not trying to cheer you up and obviously throw your opinions there, but I would market that.
Absolutely.
Well, if you want the consumer to see it too, if it's in the property description, then they're gonna see it and be like, oh, and if they have names in, they're gonna be like, well, what's this about? You know?
And like if you're getting really crafty there, you might even write in that description of like, change your interest rate down below in Zillow to a 6% instead of a 7. See how that changes things. This is your house, whatever. Because some consumers, they're in here browsing, they'll follow instructions in a listing description. So that might be one way to say, hey, if your current interest rate is a 6 3/4, well, let's get you down to a 5 3/4. Check the mortgage calculator below to see what that does. Like that might be a creative way to get more interest in that property, or at least start leaning into the experience of what the potential buyer, the consumer is facing.
Okay. Answer your question, Maria?
Yep, thank you.
I think it's a very viable strategy in today's market, where, obviously we looked at those numbers for Fort Worth and for Tarrant County and for Parker County. We are going to have to get a little creative with the interest rates. And of course, the thing that we've been saying this whole time is that most of the lenders are going to be willing to do a refi when interest rates do come down, because we fully expect them to come down. Now, not next week. Next week, they're probably going to go up again because that's what the Fed is signaling that they're about to do. But long term, used to be, and I don't know if this is still the case, lender can speak to this, put on your lender hat.
Yeah.
If it's a 2% drop from where your current interest rate is, then it usually makes sense to refinance.
Yeah. It's going to vary on the fees, but that's a decent rule of thumb. Every lender is going to help you or your clients parse out those costs. So they're going to say, hey, it's going to be $5,000 to refi. Here's how, if you're going to be in the house for more than X amount of years, this is when it would start to make sense. Because day one, it doesn't make sense. Even though you have a lower rate, you just came out of pocket with some of that money. And then there are some lenders that are waiving those refi fees. There's some builders that are waiving those refi fees. All kinds of creative stuff out there. But the refi, that's where a lot of lenders are pushing is to that refi place. I think that we'll get into a place like where rates will drop at some point. They will. Is it going to be election year? Who knows? And trying to time the bottom of the market where rates are low and prices have not, and those new rates haven't been priced into home sales prices is incredibly difficult. We can't, playing that game is impossible, but you can wait for downwards trajectory, that kind of thing. It's a slippery slope though. And so your buyers that are sitting holding their breath, you might advise them otherwise.
Okay. So a couple more announcements. Obviously you guys have seen my push for 100 Days to Greatness and Pathway to Mastery. I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to make sure everybody knows. If you have signed up and have told me that you want to take 100 Days to Greatness, now is the time to go and sign up, pay for the class through Buffini, through the link that I sent out. Please go sign up. It takes 2 weeks-ish to get your books from California. So now is the time for people that told me they wanted to do 100 Days to Greatness to sign up. The Pathway to Mastery people that we've talked to, we're going to do a special deal with them. They're giving us a special rate. So I've got a list. I've got 5 people on that list right now. I'd like to have, actually I've got 7 with 2 possibles. So I would like to see if you're seeing this and you want to take one of those 2 classes, please let me know. You can just go sign up for 100 Days to Greatness. Go ahead and do that now. The cost is $395 through and you have to have your NAR number, your NAR ID. I think it's called NAID. And you can find that on realtor.com or through your profile. Yeah. If you need help finding that, just let me know. But it's a $100 discount off of the $495 real price from Buffini. So if you're with a National Association of realtor, you get a $100 discount, so $395. So then from $395 on your first two closings after the class starts, 6th Avenue will give you a credit of $197.50. So the class essentially is free.
Yeah.
And this is some of the best training. And I'm gonna put Gracie on the spot at this point and have her give 3 sentences on what she thought of 100 Days of Greatness.
Are you serious?
This is Gracie's nightmare.
What'd you think? What'd you think of
Yeah,
100
it was
Days?
good. I like, especially being new and young, like coming into professional business, like I didn't know anything. So yeah, I just thought it was very beneficial to my everyday realtor life. Yeah, it was good.
Good. Yeah, Gracie.
Like actually helped.
Let's give a round of applause to Gracie.
And I to throw another story in there, Cherie was sharing with us last week, like she's been in the industry for a while. She's leadership position, learned a lot, reaping the benefits of the leads generated from those efforts. Cherie, feel free to chime in, but I want to share that too, of like 2 very different ends of the spectrum, both finding significant value.
Yes. So like I talked about in our team meeting yesterday, there are days that you feel like I don't want to do anything. You know, I'm just burned out. I need a mental health day, right? But with this 100 Days of Greatness, it gives you some structure. So when you're at a loss at what to do, just go back to the basics that we learned in 100 Days of Greatness and write a few note cards and make those calls. Get on their CRM. It tells you exactly who to call, who to write a card to, who to do a pop by with. You don't have to even think about it. So they tell you how to do it, who to do it with. So even on those days that you're like, I don't know what to do, they're telling you what to do. So you don't have to think about it. You know,
We call that the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
exactly. But I have 4 listings coming up right now. I've got 4 folders sitting right here. And that doesn't count for the other listings I got in May and June that have already closed. So, and they all came from 100 Days of Greatness.
Great success story.
God, want listings? 100 Days of Greatness. There's your promo.
It's a simple solution. So
Right.
everybody that told me they wanted to be on 100 Days of Greatness, please go and follow the link and sign up now. I can see you as you get signed up. So that's greatness. For the leadership, the Pathway to Mastery is going to start first week of September. Just for clarity, the 100 Days of Greatness will be Wednesdays from 11:30 till 2. 11:30 is lunch. I'm going to have a lunch sponsor come in every week, and then we start the class at 12. So 12 to 2 is your class time. If you can't be here all the time, that's okay. So if you live a little bit further out, if you're in Bell County and want to join virtually, we do that virtually, so you'll be able to join the class. Cherie did most of the class virtually from Bell County. So it's very simple for us to get this done, just basically like this meeting does. Now, we will not be recording those messages, the meetings, to put on the YouTube channel. Those will not be recorded, but they will be going live. But you can still take the class virtually, even if you can't be part of the Google Meet, because you get access to the Brian Buffini video 7 days in advance. So it's very nice and simple. Reach out to me, text me, call me, smoke signal, whatever. Let me know if you have a question about the way that it works for you. I'll be happy to help.
But I think it would be beneficial to be here.
Absolutely. Being in the class is the best.
Yeah.
It's the best solution,
Yeah.
but there are certain people that work another job, for instance, and they're at work during that time and they can't be here. And so that's completely fine. I'm just saying the option does exist there. Thank you for that, by the way. Okay, so today at 11:30, the Baker firm is coming in with Lunch and Learn. It's all about the appraisal, so I'm very interested to see this. And on that, I have something cool. So one of our new agents, and I'm gonna call him out, Brian Wright, is actually an appraiser. And so he has actually gone through my stuff that I did last week on the appraisal, and he and I are going to have a conversation in the next couple of weeks, maybe a roundtable with an appraiser that's also an agent, that we can talk about some of these things.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that Brian has decided to join us. If you didn't get to say happy birthday to Andrew, his birthday was yesterday. And so happy birthday, Andrew. Next week, I've got a special thing, and I really want you guys to see if you can be here for this. McKnight Title is going to be our Lunch and Learn sponsor next Wednesday, and it's safety strategies for realtors. I've heard a couple of stories this week around the Metroplex that there's some stupid stuff going on. People showing up at open houses, some people that were shadowing a showing and being a little bit weird. So I just want everybody to be safe with when you're out there in the field. So we're going to have McKnight next Wednesday at 11:30 for Lunch and Learn, safety strategies for realtors. At this point, I'm done. What do you got? Anything else? Okay, so we have some extra merchandise.
Yeah.
We have some extra merchandise. If somebody wants one of the blue shirts or the white shirts or the hat, we have some of those here at the office. Feel free to drop by.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody else have any questions about what we've talked about? What?
I did talk to the rep with Magnet USA. She just sent me 2 examples, one with 4 teams and one with 6 teams. We just have to agree on the 4 or 6, because when you order in bulk, you can't
Yeah.
personalize.
If you'll put those in the Slack channel,
Yep, I got them.
if you put it that way, and then I'll run something like a vote.
Yeah.
And we'll vote on what we're going to do, and then we'll go from there.
I think we need to order pretty quick.
Yeah, we
We're
do.
a little late in the game,
This
to be
week.
honest with you. But yeah, I'd like to have her everything by Monday, and then we'll
Absolutely.
take a 15-day turnaround.
And so what we'll do is the schedules, if we get to 1,000, it's like 56 cents per magnet. So that's $56 and some change per person to order 100. But what a great mail out to give to your clients, your sphere of influence. This is going to be, it works great. And I love walking into one of my clients' house, and I go to the side of the refrigerator, and they've got my business card magnet. They've got the baseball magnet that I sent them last year, and the football magnet, and my pictures on everything. And what a great testimony to that you're doing your job by staying in touch with these people. So I'm going to open the floor up at this point. If there's anything else anybody would like to discuss or ask.
Another great one that we've done is the what do you call it?
Measurement thing.
The measurement ones, like towards the holidays, like 1st of December. If you don't have, if you're not sending a Christmas card or anything like that, that's great. If people would keep that up all year round.
I keep it up in my own kitchen because I'm like, I'm always real
Like
excited.
conversion?
It's conversion.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's a really good one. I think I got feedback on that one.
What is that?
Okay.
It's like a magnet that has
Yeah.
measurement conversions, like
Kitchen
1 cup equals
conversions.
4 teaspoons or whatever it is.
That would be nice.
Because we typically don't do a mail out every month. We try to hit everybody about 4 to 6 times a year. With other
We do the baseball magnet. We do the
football,
football.
conversions, a couple of client event invitations, things like that. And we don't do it every month.
So was that the Barbie thing part of the client appreciation thing?
We were going to do it for client appreciation. We just really made it for,
Well, and
Right.
last year we rented out the movie theater for Top Gun. Movie tickets are substantially more expensive this year.
like $18 a ticket.
$18 a ticket.
Yeah.
It was like,
We were like, okay, well, so we just have a big group of people
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
and everything going now, so.
That's cool.
Sweet.
Go ahead, please.
I was just saying sweet on that Barbie thing. That was a cool idea.
And Brian,
Sorry.
hi. You said hi to me earlier. I wasn't trying to be rude. I just purchased a brand new laptop and I was trying to figure out where the mute button was.
Understood.
But thank you. I'm doing very well. Tanner is amazing and I'm excited to meet everyone. I think we're going to meet Tanner in the office tomorrow at 2 p.m. So if you happen to be there, Brian, I'd love to say hello to you in person. But if not, then, for sure, I'm interested in coming next Wednesday for the safety
Great.
class.
Would love to see you. Actually, I've got a closing at 1 and I've got to go sell another house at 3 tomorrow, so I won't be here tomorrow.
Okay. I'll see you next week.
Hey, I was telling Gracie this morning, we were talking about in our quarterly, one of the things that happens to all of us as realtors is we get overwhelmed. We have too many things going on, too many loose ends. And what I was telling her was that part of our job as realtors is to organize that and to be very tactical and practical about the way that we go about this. And so writing down your list of things and then putting all that onto a calendar, making those connections in your brain helps you not be overwhelmed. So that's something I wanted to share with all you guys, because I think that's very important that what you and I were talking about.
Are you?
I'm done.
Okay. If we're wrapped, anybody needs a boogie. Last week we talked about appraisals. We got another appraisal conversation coming from the title company. Probably more coming down the line. Do y'all want to talk through appraisals more? Go from one of the thoughts that I had was like, we saw, the Brian method, like this is how appraisers do it. Like anybody can have good back of the napkin approach you want to share, talk through, whiteboard out. Kind of totally optional, more of like a brainstorming session.
I would love to do that.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we do that for one of the office hours coming up in August.
I can do it 10 minutes right now. If you don't see that, I want to hang out. It's going to be rough, but Gracie and I do our work on our deals together, and you've seen how it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can spend some time doing that for folks in the office if we want to.
If you guys need to go, you're welcome to go. If y'all want to stay and listen to this, I'll let Tanner have the floor here, and he'll get on, kind of talk through what that's going to look like.
It's going to be very punk rock.
Okay, and we'll keep recording.
Do I have you to keep my notes going? Or is it?
Unless you want to.
I mean,
Yeah. Unless you want to. It's kind of a framework.
because I did know how his, so
Yeah.
just saying.
Well, and I haven't taught, Greg, you've been through it before when we were talking about comps.
Yeah.
I haven't taught it in a while, so I think it's a good opportunity for feedback from you guys and the way you think about these things. But in general, starting with when thinking about appraisals, if we want to do, there's two ways to go about it. Generally comping a house, and then to give a loose range, and then to really go and do that super dialed in method. Like Brian has an incredibly detailed version, but a lot I know you guys. I know how a spreadsheet is speaking in public for Gracie. It's not the thing that you want to do. So having an in-between version where you can say, okay, in 5 minutes I can come to a good estimation of value based on pulling a quick CMA. That's a skill set that we all need to have. And then there's another deeper skill set of here's how I'm going to take that and actually price a house using some strategy to how to generate multiple offers. So what I was referring to earlier about, okay, I can justify 500, but I want to list a little bit below that to try to get interest. And I'm going to try to sweeten the deal even more to see if we can get some competition at this level. And hell, even if I did price it perfectly and it doesn't move, I'm going to be dropping to this price anyways. Now here's how we communicate this to our buyer. That's a separate skill set, but that's the mindset you have to be in when you're doing listings. And then likewise, when you're justifying an offer. And I think where most of us, we're going to be buyer heavy, so just kind of looking around. Yeah. I mean, even split or more so buyer heavy. So now you have to figure out, and this is where that back of the napkin approach comes in really handy, is how can we justify offering a
I
price?
was just laughing after our previous
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, we talked to a total just jabroni on the commercial side.
Yeah, comps.
No, he talked to himself in circles for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
With Tanner and South. And
Yeah, and we just looked at each other. That's my thought. And I'm assuming you guys you can't be proficient without some kind of mental model of this. A couple of things that I think about first is proximity. We're going to start. I'm going to go wide funnel into specifics. So the first thing is proximity. One thing Brian talked about is dropping that 1 mile radius. The thing that I'm really cognizant of when looking at comps, and this is going to sound more detailed than this, I'm going to be cognizant of man-made barriers and natural barriers. So just because it's a 1 mile radius, you've got a highway or a major thoroughfare, a railroad track, a river delineates comps. Unless those comps on the other side really help you. A great example is Fairmount. Fairmount and Ryan Place will differ, but you can use Ryan Place comps. Fairmount and Ryan Place both will differ from Berkeley Mistletoe, which is on the other side of railroad track and a major thoroughfare. That said, if you've got a significantly light quality product, you can price in the area loosely. So, your appraisers are going to follow those natural boundaries a little bit more exclusively than they are just drop a pin and cast a 1 mile radius. For more unique properties, you're gonna open that radius up and maybe start hopping over some of those boundaries. So I like to have my usually when I teach it, I whiteboard stick out, but I'm a visual learner, and then in my head I'm like imagining how I look or how I think about this. So do like 1 to 1.5 miles, and then like best case. Area. I spell area. I just want to think of that. And then stretch. Maybe I'm not a great speller for those of you guys that know me. 3 miles max. So, and then once you get into that where you got to stretch, that's where we start thinking about boundaries. The next thing is time. 3 months, 3 to 6 is really where you want to be. Ideally, we know this from Brian's model, but I'm structuring it like this. Obviously, again, wide to narrow, 3 to 6, and then you can go back 360 days if you need to justify it. So just know you start here and you get flexible on each one of these categories. That's how we're going to structure this. And then we're going to go rooms. And if you've seen an appraisal, like how many people have like deep dive into appraisal from a client? Yeah. Okay. They're kind of hard to track with, but once you get it down in there, you see the way that they weight rooms. They do a total room count. That might be a 13 or 14 sum by the end of the day. And then they're going to weigh the size of the bedrooms and the type of bedrooms a little bit differently. $2,500 to $5,000 per each one. Likewise with bathrooms. So you're going to think about room count, and this is you want typically plus or minus 1, and then you can go to plus or minus 2 rooms on more unique properties. If you're out in Aledo and you don't have great comps, and we really got to do some deep stretches, or out in the country in Central Texas, that's where we start stretching things a little bit. Here, you're going to want to try to keep those variances $5,000 somewhere around there because we're getting ready to do some back of the napkin mental math to reduce value. So here we're thinking we're going to call we're just going to put 5K loose. This is going to be very general per room, up or down when we start looking at comps. Last one is going to be square footage. And you want to, like Brian, mentioned last week, we try to want to be in like a 10-15% variant. You can go a little bit higher. My rule of thumb is if it's a 2,000 square foot house, I'm going to look at 1,600 to 2,500. And then I might bump it down if I get too many comps. I'm going to start a little bit wider there, and then kind of trim it down from there. You can go higher if you need to, if there's a lack of comps because you're trying to get 4 or 5. And then we're going to look at I'm going to just put a star because these are like your bonuses, like your garage, your pool, your additional dwelling unit. Knowing those values in the back of your head is something you just need to have memorized. It's kind of like, what's it cost to move a wall? You need to have that number memorized. This is actually probably a little bit critical. So what's that pool value going to yield? What's the ADU going to yield? What's the garage going to yield? What does each one of those equal? Pool, we talked about what was the pool value?
Starts at 30.
30. So we'll go with 30 to 50. And remember, and there's one thing you learned from Brian's model the other day, and from the industry, it's an art. So it can be 50 if you need it to. If you can find a way to justify 50, try it. See if that pushes on that mean, where you talked about price ceilings and price floors and kind of setting that standard, see how close that gets you, and then kind of dial back from there. Don't get crazy. ADUs, typically, I don't, did we talk about this one last time? The additional dwelling units, like garage apartments. Sometimes you'll see, we've all seen a listing that has a garage apartment square footage added into the square footage of the listing.
No.
You're absolutely not supposed to do it. Everyone, like I'd say 75% of them have it.
And so I've just talked about this extensively with Jimmy and Brian.
Yeah.
So like in Fort Worth around Fairmont, they get 100% of the value. But like if you go to Parker County, we get about 60 to 70%. So
Yeah.
it really just depends on your area.
It does. It's not 100%. They try to justify it more, but a lot of times, like if it's $300 a foot in that area, it's going to be $175, $180 a foot, somewhere like 60%. Sometimes even at Parker County or less dense areas, they'll just tack $30,000 on it. And
It's
whether or not
hugely subjective.
it's so subjective.
It's an
Weren't
art.
you the one that was like, weren't you the one that with the shop was got like $5,000?
Yes.
A 8-car shop,
Wow.
air conditioned and
Wow.
on concrete in the backyard, and he gave us $5,000 of value.
Did y'all go back and?
Oh, I argued like crazy,
Yeah.
and then he said, I'm not changing it, period. And then after closing, he came back, he goes, I really should have given you 20 for that. No, you should have given me 35 or 40
Yeah.
like I counted on,
Yeah,
what you should have done, you butthole. Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
What's
Oh,
the,
it's such a great insult.
30K or 50%?
Price per square foot.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
price.
Oh, like,
I know what POF.
PSF.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
So 50% of the price per square foot. You kind of want to hang around that range. Now, you're going to do like when we go through the like back of the napkin, you're adding numbers up in your head model. You're going to try to get to a point, like get to a number and then trim a little bit, kind of round off some of these edges. But these are the kind of things that you need to know, have a good value for. The last one's garage. Like what else talk about garages?
Depends. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to,
2, 3, 9,
a 2 versus a 3,
Yeah.
usually a $5,000 to $10,000, that's your variance on a 3-car garage versus a 2-car garage. If it's all attached, if you've got a double door and a single door, well, that's a 3-car garage. But if you've got, in Fort Worth, if you've got a 2-car garage and then they added something in the backyard,
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
It has to be looked at differently.
Right. I would kind of start like lower ends, like unfinished, older. You know, you take the quality here. I would generally, this is going to be flexible. I'd start around 15K, and I wouldn't go more than 30. Like for a nice one, maybe a little bit more if it's a feature on the property. Again, art. We're talking loose ranges. So we talked like this is how you kind of justify those comps, and you start searching those comps, and then these are going to be your modifiers. You're going to modify here. You're going to try to revert back to that mean here, but these are going to be those numbers that if you've got a unique property, you're going to go on the hunt for finding those like-kind properties, and then if they have those same features, great, that's ideal. But then tacking on based on the price per square foot, and then you start building from here. You add those numbers onto it. So, oh, this makes sense. This is like, it seems pretty standard for the way that you guys are thinking about it. But from a structure perspective, this is the process that I typically run through. And then from there, trying to find great comps to justify the price. We'll use a buyer scenario right now, but justify the price that you're going to offer. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm getting a lot of head nods. It seems like you guys did this and are sharp here. I'm not really going to go much deeper than this because we'll need like examples and stuff. But this is everything in just a whiteboard version where you can flex, how you can add values and stuff. I think the biggest takeaway here is like you can mental math these suckers all day long, and if you will spend the time doing just a little bit of research, 10 minutes, you should be able to figure out a good offer, a good strong offer. And then from there, when it comes like hardcore negotiation time or on your listing presentation, that's where those like robust models need to come in to price houses.
I have a question. like when you're adding value for like a pool or an ADU or how do you, obviously like condition and quality is going to come in place. What if it's like a pool that needs like to be completely redone?
Yeah.
Does that add value or subtract value?
Subtract value.
So, but even though it already has a pool, but it needs to be replastered and the tile needs to be redone.
Okay, so
That's
let's just
still
say
cheaper than putting a pool.
it is, okay, but then let's say that the way that you would do that, and you have to do it in your brain or on paper, but okay, they have a pool, nobody else has a pool, that is a $30,000 plus,
Yeah.
okay? But the pool pump needs to be replaced and all of the tile needs to be replastered. That's probably $15,000. So now that pool is worth 15.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was.
But so-
And then if it's like an ADU that needs like, say it's got a garage, like a,
But
it's like falling apart.
Finished, yeah.
Then you don't give any value to it.
Gonna add any value at all?
No.
Like say it needs like
Not-
$30,000 to have it like an inhabitable space.
You know, from an appraisal perspective, not
No.
much.
Okay.
It might be $2,000.
Gotcha. But from a
Maybe.
buyer standpoint, there's already something there. It might be
Yeah.
like.
Scalability,
Yeah.
that's different.
It's a starting point.
It's a starting
But
point.
for an appraisals,
There's not much value there.
there's no value, essentially. Or
Essentially, very little.
And now when an appraiser is going through this process, and they're going to know the numbers.
Mhm.
And if you look, like we've got a lot of variables that you can pull out to trim $1,000 here, add 1,000, add 5, add, whatever. And so they may be able to justify the value, the intrinsic value to your buyer or seller, but it's not a stroke.
And I have a question. So when we talked about that day about the pool, and you said 30K is about it. So I went to my own tax records. That's what the tax assessors are giving.
Yep.
Is 30K. Is that where they kind of get that?
That's from the appraiser. That was directly from
Yeah.
Chip Bingham over at Summit Appraisal. He said that he starts at the 30
Yeah.
and then works up.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in, if you're going to be in Fairmount and somebody's got a pool, number one, it's a smaller lot because Fairmount's not big. So that's a $30,000 pool. They're not going to get much bigger than that. If you're going to go to Keller, well, that might be a $40,000 to $45,000 pool because Keller houses are usually in the $400,000 to $500,000, $600,000 range on a bigger lot. Then I'm going to go a little bit further to the east and go into South Lake. Well, a lot of the houses in South Lake are much more expensive, $700,000 to $1 million, and they're probably going to put more money into a pool. So that's where I'm going to start, probably in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Yeah.
And then the appraiser also said, when I go do a $2 million property, almost every single house that's $2 million has a pool, and they probably spent $250,000 on it. So then I'm going to start at $100,000 to $125,000.
Yeah.
So you have to make these adjustments in your brain very quickly, depending on where you are.
So can I ask you a question?
No,
No.
go ahead.
No, so like, I guess it's when we say like, we give a full 30,000 or like you have a South Lake property at 2.1. So are we talking about just the pool? Or are we talking about the outdoor living?
It can be variable because if they've got an outdoor kitchen and it's a full kitchen, they've got a refrigerator, they've got a wine bar, they've got a built-in stainless steel giant cooking facility, and there's table and there's a pergola or some type of you got to give value to that. And that's separate from the pool.
Okay.
However, if you're in Keller and you've got a pool and they've got a pergola right off the back of the house that's just a pergola, well, then what's that pergola worth? Probably $3,000. And the pool's worth 30 or 40.
Yeah.
If it's nice.
Well, it's just a question I have because I think like a lot of Parker County properties, like I have a lot of clients that come to me and say, hey, like we're going to build a pool, but how do you justify the price? Because the prices of pools are astronomical now. And so I'm kind of like, for me, if I was going to spend that money, I would maybe back off less on the fancy bells and whistles and create more of an outdoor living space. Because some of those, I'm talking about upgrades with fancier tiles and fancier lights. Because see, I'm dumb enough to do the fancy light, and now the only light after 2 years on my pool that works is red, which is super creepy. So it's just trying to advise like past and future clients like how to build a pool that will actually pay off in the end.
There's not a scenario that works.
Using pools Your own development.
It's a
And it's
personal,
not gonna
yeah,
happen.
it's not,
You're-
yeah.
You're
Doing the
adding,
way you want it.
you're adding value,
Yeah.
but you know, depending on where you are, you just need to tell them up front, hey, you're gonna spend 125 and it's gonna be worth 50. But on the flip side of that, if you go in and spend $125,000 on a kitchen remodel, it's probably gonna be worth 60 to 70.
Let me ask you, the outdoor kitchen, what do you think would get add value if they truly had all of this stuff?
If it's super nice, I mean, you're probably talking $5,000, $8,000.
You can't like honestly, just to be blunt, you can't value. Like
Yeah.
you're spending too much time even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's the value if a client's like, hey, we just did this, what do you think, John? And you're like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Did y'all enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just saying,
And I
like,
feel like
when you
sometimes
go
like-
like in there to
You're
build
gonna
a
look the
pool,
whole
you've got
package
your
of
like
stuff.
your
Yeah.
level
What's it
one
rated?
house, your
Yeah.
level 10, and you're like, well, that's turquoise and that's
Yeah.
turquoise.
Same reason why builder grade and custom homes are valued the same way.
Right.
No,
And I
no,
think
like,
it's
It's a
Yeah.
problem. It's a huge.
Put this in the video.
I'll walk you through kind of some of the. It's an issue with our industry. It's a huge issue. Like when you think about like builder grade turn and burn deals versus a custom home builder, they're still going to get that A1 or B, whatever the rating, the quality rating is. And one of them's energy efficient, badass supplies, you know, the best wood, custom X, Y, or Z. Value the same, don't matter. They lit like you can't take like there is no weight or there's such little weight to get into those differences, and which sucks. So it incentivizes poor quality building. We're gonna like we won't see 100-year-old houses anymore. Like the houses that were like starting built in the 80s, they were like 100 years. There's one of them. Like they're going to end up being piecemeal repaired over time because the way our industry is set up, particularly the ones that are built in the last 10, 15 years, prioritizes speed and low quality because it's going to justify the same value. So if you're investing from an investment perspective, build lower costs, higher margins. It sucks. It sucks in our industry.
I do have one more question because I get this a lot because of where I live in Parker County as well, is lot size. Like if we have something that's your normal lot size versus like where we live, it's acreage. So
Yeah.
like rural, is we all know rural is really hard to run comps on because they're so different in all different areas.
Yeah.
So I mean, lot size is when I get a lot. So what would y'all's,
It depends on the comps.
like in my area, if I'm all, if, because there are the newer neighborhoods that are on smaller lots. like
They
that
need to
10,000
compare to
home.
one another.
Yeah, so like when I'm looking at an appraiser, like an appraisal, I'm like, well, there's different ones. And so I never know how to decipher.
Well, because I think, I mean, you're on what you're saying, but for example, like my neighborhood, like there's a neighbor that has an acre.
Mhm.
There's one that has 1.4.
Yeah, 6.
There's one 1.8.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, well, how much value? Typically, I don't think you get much value for that additional
Quarter
half
acre.
acre or
Yeah.
almost.
I'm
Yeah.
Very
talking
little.
like, if it's like, we have an acre and a half, but then there's somebody in our neighborhood that has 4 acres. Like, I'm
Okay, well,
like,
that's not a comp.
That's not a comp.
but
and-
that's the only thing around. That's
So
the thing.
the
Like,
next thing you would do is
what do I use?
and I'll show you the process I'm thinking is like you trim that. You do what you need to do to revert that, to change that property into your comp. So
Yeah.
and that might be, hey, what's the price per square foot? What's the overall price of this deal if I detract $30,000? Let's play with some numbers and
Yeah.
see, because we know that there's some value. Is it $200,000? No. Is it $5,000?
I don't know.
Yeah. If you've seen, I had a deal that buyer had a custom home that they were buying that's on a premium lot that oversaws this grand vista view. Like when they sold the lot, that lot was priced $75,000 over the neighborhoods. Comp down the street, their view is of a beautiful electric line,
Mhm.
like not just a pole, like you can see it from miles,
Yeah.
miles of, and it damn near runs into the back of the house.
Yeah.
They didn't give any difference in value for the lot. They made zero adjustments for being on the Lakeview Vista versus this, which was wrong.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the appraisers were shitty. We bought it, ended up not going through. That is a wrong thing to do, but you have to prepare for worst case scenarios. And we had a leg to stand on in having a whole new appraisal ordered, but we were $50,000 off, not what they would give 15, 10, 12, somewhere around there. It didn't make sense. So you basically, my rule of thumb would be is like and this is a loosely rule of thumb. I would say what do your clients value it at, and give it 30% of that value. This is a great view. This is a great property. Which should be $100,000 more. Well, probably 30%.
Yeah, I just know in rural, just because I've done
Yeah.
a lot of it, is there's just not a lot of comps. So you're grasping at what you're trying to see. And sometimes it's either the apples to apples, but then they're on a 4-acre versus an acre.
Yeah,
Like,
I would
it's
blow up distances. I'd blow up times. I'd blow up room sizes.
We do, I
And,
do.
and then the other thing I think is really hairy, given a person.
I guess another thing is like in the particular area that we live in, like we are county.
Yep.
But a lot of our comps are city.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's weird. I mean, you just,
There's unincorporated parts of Keller.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and so you're kind of like, well, I don't know. I mean, my taxes are half of what theirs are.
There's sellability there,
Yeah.
but it's the value.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the difference.
It's
And I hate to stop everybody, but it's 11 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the video off. Jana, Mina, thank you for watching, and thanks everybody for chiming in and being a part. And we'll get this up on YouTube. We're back in about 30 minutes with Lunch and Learn. It's all about the appraisal, and we'll talk more about this.
I've got a couple more thoughts. The city, it's an important point of sellability versus school districts. They will add significant value. You know,